Hey, welcome again. In one of our previous videos, we talked about data frame. A data frame essentially looks like this. It's tabular in structure, meaning it has columns and rows. Pretty straightforward, columns and rows. It's a two-dimensional structure which can store data. Okay, so what we're going to do in this video is use this data frame and analyze data using its powerful features. Okay, let's start doing that. I will switch straight into my Jupyter notebook, and as you see, I have a Jupyter notebook already ready for you. And in this, I have started using my pandas module, import pandas as PD. The first concept I'm going to teach you, which is relatively new, is to import data from a CSV file coming from a URL. A URL is what you type inside a browser, so it starts with HTTP or HTTPS. It really doesn't matter, but it typically starts with HTTP. And then I have content in a CSV file stored somewhere else on the internet. So actors.csv, I'm reading that into my data frame. As soon as I read into my data frame, I'm using pandas to read this and it converts into data frame. And then I check what the contents are. I do a quick inspection and I get interesting data. I have actors, how much total money they have made acting, the number of movies they've acted, average money they make per movie. This guy seems pretty rich, Harrison Ford. The number one movie which had a lot of money, that movie grossed in as revenue, right? So it's close to $1 billion coming in from Star Wars. And his average revenue, which is Harrison Ford, he makes like 100 plus million, 118 million. So you get that information in a data frame, a lot of information. I don't know how many records there is. I could run a command, but I'm not going to teach you that command now. Those commands I'll probably teach you separately, differently, in a different video. Okay, so, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean something up, clean this table up. As you see, there are spaces here. So it's total space gross, number space, off space movies, average space, all this stuff. And you got the special character too, #1. And you want to clean this up because you want to reference these columns in code. And when you do stuff in code, typically, code prefers no spaces, no special characters, and it's easier to call that name. So instead of saying total space gross in code, you can actually say total maybe underscore, which is a symbol which looks like this, like a sign, right? The underscore. Let me see if I have an underscore here. Oh, yep, there you go. I use it here, actually within code. So underscore is a symbol which is much more readable when you address or when you call a column, right? So I'll explain that in detail a little bit further down. But that's our first cleaning exercise. You have to clean the column names to remove spaces and special character. Okay. And by the way, the link to this Jupyter notebook will be beneath the video, so it's pretty easy for you to take a look at it. And if you want to go straight dive into code and you don't want to listen to me, go ahead and do it. No issues at all. So here, what I'm doing is I will be using, so these columns are of string type. I mean, the name of the columns are string, meaning textual type. And I will use the replace function. If you remember in the previous video, I talked about data types. One of the data types we have is a string, which is textual information. I'll replace empty spaces, first of all, with underscore. So I will have total underscore gross and number underscore off underscore movies so that I don't have to deal with spaces. So it's kind of important that remove these spaces so you can call the column name without these special characters. And you'll understand that shortly. Okay, so I'll also replace this funny number one. I don't want this number one. I just want to clean it up. I will replace that with nothing. So I'll replace that and let's go ahead and see how this looks like. I have done that. So I've said go and replace all my column names with this condition. Replace empty spaces with underscore #1 with nothing. And let's look at this data table now, or the data frame now. So actor, like I said, space is replaced with that underscore, 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 and movie gross. Now you'll see the benefit. The third step I'm going to use, this is the actual analysis. So you did a little bit of cleaning first, and then you will use filters and conditions, okay? And the question I'm going to ask before you use filters and conditions, you need to know what the need is. And this is a key thing you have to understand when you deal with data. What is the question? What is the objective? What are you trying to solve? Okay. And my question is find me actors who's relatively new and they've acted, say somewhere between 5 and 20 movies. Okay. So 5 and 20 movies, and I have to run, in this case, a filter. So that's the question I'm trying to ask. And the way I would solve that is data frame with conditions. So this whole square bracket holds a condition inside it. Now, let me switch back into one of my other lessons. I think I mentioned that somewhere else. Actually, let me draw it out here. Okay, so a data frame. Um, let me use a different color, maybe green. Okay, so data frame, you could say a data frame, and you could have a condition within these square brackets. Okay, and this is the condition you put in. Right? What happens is when you execute this with a condition inside it, a filtering condition or any kind of condition inside it, it produces a different data frame, right? I call it DF, let's say DF2 maybe, okay? So this data frame can produce a filtered data frame and pass that on or assign that to DF2. So condition within square brackets, switching back to Jupyter again. So you have condition, where's the condition? Yeah, let's go back here. Yeah, there you go, at the bottom. Here, you have the condition between these two square brackets. Notice that? These two things. So this whole thing, let me mark that, this whole thing is a condition, right? And what is that condition? Let's look at it. It's pretty straightforward. It's saying, hey, data frame, get me, the condition is get me number of movies which is greater than 5, which is what I said, somewhere between 5 and 20, and find me and the condition, other condition I want to say is number of movies which is less than 20, right? So I'm saying get me a data frame where the number of movies is greater than 5 and this condition is also true. So both have to be true. This have to be true and this have to be true, right? So you remember I talked about Boolean in one of the videos. So I get a Boolean equals true, and this has to be true. Both together have to be true for this to be true. And then I get a new data frame. Let's see what that looks like. It should filter based on that condition. See, as you see here, I got different actors, different from the ones before, with number of movies 7, 17, 17, 7. So I have 4 rows, maybe even more, which have, because this only gives me the head. Remember the head command, it only gives you a subset of the data frame. So um, for, and I know this condition is working because this sample data set I get back is meeting that criteria. Okay, so good way to filter, right? Now let's go to the next one. I use a different kind of filter called a string filter. If you remember, string is a data type, textual data type. And in this one, I'm using a new function. This function is called contains. So I'm saying df.movie, which is the movie name. Let's look at where the movie name is. There you go. That's the movie head column. And I want only movies which contains the word star in it. The word star in it. So string contains star. Get me that. Get me only movies which has the word star in it. And let's see what the data frame looks like. And I have a new data frame again. I'm assigning to the same new data frame, and I say, let me take a look at it. And I have 3 records which come back because the head function is only giving me 3 in this case. Probably there's only 3 records because last time over I had 4 records. Now I had 3 records coming through. So it has 3 movies, Star Wars, because I'm looking for string which contains star, movie which contains star, and I use that filtering criteria for this new data frame, and I have that this new data filter. So we studied 2 types of data filters. One is a conditional data filter with some numeric filters in it, and an and condition, the ampersand sign, and here we're using a string filter. Hopefully this made sense. This is part 1 of how to analyze data using data frames or data frame coming from pandas. Thank you.